Right, 11 May 2024. And as usual, I'll be giving you my daily update at 5 a.m. every day. And today we're going to have quite a short broadcast. I'm not going to be talking for a long time because we have had a very, very long week. And I want to go straight into what happened yesterday at the burial of national hero Muzeba at the National Heroes Acre yesterday. And as I said in the morning, there is massive factionalism in ZANU-PF. And this is happening because obviously the time of ED of Mnangagwa is coming to an end. And the person who's supposed to come into office, the person who's supposed to be next in line is General Chiwenga, who is supposed to take over. And you're going to see a lot of drama going forward. But what happened yesterday is more dramatic than usual because the burial of Muzeba Ezekiel degenerated yesterday. It became a circus with crowds that were hired, heckling General Chiwenga. So they waited for him to arrive. So I was watching the whole thing, and they waited for him to arrive and sit down, and they started to heckle him. They also started to sing pro-Mnangagwa songs to the point that Kazembe actually had to remark about it. They were singing songs about Mnangagwa and heckling Chiwenga, and particularly the song Garwe Ndurida was being sung throughout the burial ceremony. And what I've also noticed is that Chiwenga has increased his security. So if you look at the pictures that we were looking at yesterday, you can clearly see that Chiwenga has increased the security. And we're going to see more drama in ZANU-PF. What we saw in Parliament last week and what we saw yesterday at the burial of Chaunoita, this shows us that where we are going, things are going to get more and more dramatic. And I want to take you through a few pictures of the actual burial. So this is the wife. I think this is the first wife, because Muzeba Chaunoita has 13 wives or more. He's got more than 13 wives that I showed you during the week. Some of the wives are here. We're sitting here. So these are some of the wives. And also, I showed you this long list of wives standing here. So Muzeba Chaunoita has many, many wives. But the one that received the certificate from the ministry is this one here. So Mnangagwa handed over the certificate. I think there's a hero certificate that you get. And then there was obviously the funeral, the actual burial itself. They had a golden casket for Chaunoita, which they showed here. So you can see that he had a golden casket. And as I said, Chiwenga has increased his security. You can clearly see that Chiwenga has increased the security. Normally, Chiwenga moves around with very few people. But yesterday, he had a whole bunch of people that were working with him. It's very worrying what is happening for Chiwenga because of the situation that you saw yesterday. As I was explaining to you, that there was heckling. And when I talk of heckling, I'm talking of a deterioration. There was a deterioration of the whole proceedings as the supporters of Mnangagwa were singing mocking songs and also singing songs of praise for Mnangagwa. And I hope that I'll be able to show you at least a bit of that heckling that took place yesterday. So let's see what happened here. So let me just play this very, very quickly. It went on for more than 10 minutes. Right, so you can go and have a look at that. I'm not going to play all of this thing. There was a lot of heckling, and everyone who was watching the proceedings was aware of what was happening. This was an unprecedented display of factionalism, and this is going to continue. As I said, it's going to continue. It's going to go on for a very, very long time. And you also saw that the wives were no longer there. So the wives didn't come. So the wife of Mnangagwa did not come there. The wife of Chiwenga, those wives are now not coming to these events. And this is very odd. And obviously you can see this on the basis of the increased security and also the general toxic atmosphere in ZANU-PF. There's a toxic atmosphere in ZANU-PF. And as I said, Chiwenga has increased the security. You can see that normally Chiwenga travels with a very tight security, but not this big. I think he now has more than 12 bodyguards, close protection. And I'm sure that this extends to what he does on a daily basis. Contrast this with someone like Mdenda. So you can see Mdenda is moving around with maybe 3 bodyguards, if I'm not mistaken, and even Mohadi. That is Mohadi there. He's got only about, I think, 4 or 5 bodyguards, including that guy who is his aide, who's always walking around with Mohadi. And obviously, as usual, Mnangagwa is a large number of bodyguards. But for Chiwenga, this is a very, very different thing. He's being publicly humiliated by the Mnangagwa group. They want to make sure that he feels the heat, he feels the pressure, that he's not going to walk into office. So, as I said, Chiwenga has a decision to make here. And this is something that happens to all the vice presidents. If you're a vice president, as you go into the presidency, it becomes very, very difficult. And this topic, it needs to be handled, especially by media, because that is why you see I keep going back to this topic. Where we're going within the next 2 years, it's going to be very defining. You're going to see a lot of strife within ZANU-PF. And if Chiwenga does not make the necessary moves, he's not going to make that office of president. And I personally have a preference for Chiwenga right now. I think ZANU-PF needs a change. The reason why I say that is because Mnangagwa is no longer focused on improving the country. He's now focused on what happens to him after he leaves office. So he's more like taking all of his time on preserving his current status and planning to put his own people in office. And Chiwenga now needs to be thinking, how do I get into this office? Who are the people that are going to come with me for the next 10 years? And what do I need to do to deal with what is happening now? Like what I showed you, the heckling. If he's not careful, it's going to make him lose focus or lose balance. So this needs a very stable person to deal with. What ED is throwing at Chiwenga is very, very complex. It's not a normal situation that you're watching here. You're watching a strategic push, like shaking someone to see how strong they are. This is what the Mnangagwa group is doing to Chiwenga. They want to see how far he's willing to go. They want to see his reaction. How is he going to react as these things happen? And this will extend to the close supporters of Chiwenga. So you saw the direct heckling of Chiwenga, but this also extends to people like Mdenda, who have been named as, or who are seen as close to Chiwenga, and also guys in the military that I've been showing you over the past few months. So we're looking at the change taking place in ZANU-PF, and this is going to blow up, as I said, in public. There is nothing that is going to happen that is going to happen in private. Everything that you're going to see regarding succession in Zimbabwe is going to happen in public. And it will soon start going into the public press. So the things that I'm telling you here, within the next 3 years, you'll see it on ZBC. So ZBC, all the public press, they will jump on this. This is going to become more and more toxic because succession in ZANU-PF has never been handled properly. And this is how it always ends. Succession ends up with public fighting in ZANU-PF between the top leadership of ZANU-PF. So I think we've covered our headline. Let's now go to news. There is a number of news items that I have here. The first news item is that Neville Mutsvangwa is spending his 3rd night in jail, and he's also going to be back in court on Monday. So that will be 5 days, 5 nights in jail. I don't think Neville Mutsvangwa has done anything that requires him to spend that long in jail. Many people get bail and they go home, and especially for the kind of crimes that is being accused of, Starlink, having a Starlink kit, and being said you've transacted at the wrong exchange rate of Zig. That's not supposed to keep you in jail. He's not like the godfather of forex trading. People like Kuda, they trade more black market than Neville. And also, we need to be careful that, as I said to you, the banks, they are the culprits. The banks in Zimbabwe, they're going to bring the ZiG to its knees. They've printed billions of fake ZiG, which they're waiting to dump onto the market because the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe does not have capacity to audit how much money was there before the ZiG and now how much money is there after the ZiG. If you ask the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe how much money was converted and at what rate, and what is in the suspense account, what is in the dormant accounts, how many goods are in Zimbabwe, what was their price before the ZiG, and what is the price after the ZiG. They don't know. They don't have a clue. And they don't know why the ZiG is crashing. So the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, they're busy chasing young people like Neville. But the ZiG cannot be saved. The ZiG is a fake currency. You will see it here. And as you heard Mnangagwa saying yesterday, that the people were sabotaging the ZiG. The ZiG cannot be sabotaged because it's a fake currency. It's nothing. And you see what I'm talking about within a short few weeks. Currently, fuel stations are refusing to accept the ZiG. Transporters are refusing to accept the ZiG. No one has seen the ZiG. So if you look at the actual cash ZiG, it's not there. No one has seen it. So there's no country where you can't see your own currency. That's crazy. And that means the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe is still playing games. They're joking. And John Mushavan is not a serious person who you can say is the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe governor. And people like Mnangagwa, they are not really serious people in terms of economy. You can't produce a currency and then you don't show that currency. So I was looking at news items this week where people say, Imashingo say, we've never seen the ZiG. People at the filling station say, where is the ZiG? That is because if they release the ZiG in cash, people are going to start transacting in it and they will crash it parabolically. So don't even consider the ZiG as a currency. The ZiG has only been put in place for ordinary people so that they can lose their money. And if you're a civil servant, if you're a soldier, if you're a police, if you're a teacher, your salary is going to be dropping every day because you're being paid in ZiG. So that is the big story here. It's just for the normal people, the ordinary people. And the ZiG has also not been properly introduced. ZIMRA is failing to register cars. So ever since the ZiG was reintroduced, people can no longer register new cars, which are imported. So people are driving around without number plates because the ZiG cannot be integrated into the ZIMRA systems. So this is a massive, massive problem which is taking place. And John Mushavan and the guys in the Ministry of Finance, they will understand what I mean when I say this, a baptism of fire. No one is sabotaging Mnangagwa. Mnangagwa just doesn't know what he's doing. And as I said, the day the ZiG goes to zero, Mnangagwa is going to be out of office. Mnangagwa achamaniswa nevan. Now I want to go to other stories quickly, and that is in Bulawayo. So I'm going to do an entertainment story, then I'll wrap this up. There is a WhatsApp group which exposes cheating men and women, and is being run by these three people: Miss Pride, Richard Katoma, and sorry, not him. They are running these WhatsApp groups, which the police have said are illegal. So there is a WhatsApp group that is exposing cheating men, and then men also opened a WhatsApp group exposing cheating women and sharing the pictures of the people they're cheating with. So that is KC Chigudu there. She is one of the administrators of the group, and Miss Pride. These have been published by the Chronicle newspaper. And these people are probably going to be arrested. If they're in Zimbabwe, they're going to be arrested under the cyberbullying laws. Because I don't think it's always true. If you publish the name of someone and saying they're cheating, then it's not always true. But as I'm saying, social media makes everything quite interesting, and you probably can't arrest everyone who is in social media. But if you have access to those groups, send me some of the pictures. I want to see what the guys are cheating, because if the police are intervening, it means someone big has been named over there. But I don't know who is named in there. I'm not in such groups myself. Then I want to look at the Commercial Farmers Union president. I think that is Nick Swanepoel there, who has passed away. I saw Mnangagwa send out a message of condolence to the family. And there's probably going to be a state-assisted burial for Nick Swanepoel or something of that nature. But I want to now wrap up and recap. Then I'll go to the comments. So yesterday, during the burial of Muzenda Ezekiel Chaunoita at the National Heroes Acre, Chiwenga was heckled by Mnangagwa crowd, a Mnangagwa hired crowd. So someone hired a crowd to praise Mnangagwa, to sing praise songs and to heckle Chiwenga. So they waited for him to arrive. When he seated down, they started to heckle him. And as I said, this is a mistake because Mnangagwa should be working on succession, making sure that his vice president takes office without any interruptions. So I think that is a mistake. What are Mnangagwa doing with Chiwenga? I don't think they should actually be working with him so that ZANU-PF gets stronger. But at the moment, they're fighting with him. And then in terms of the actual heroes, I don't think the heroes that we're seeing now, Muzenda, Ezekiel, all these people that are being appointed or named heroes, I don't think that they should be at the national heroes. What I think is ZANU-PF needs to change and upgrade the provincial hero status. Then put these people at the provincial heroes. You can't compare Joshua Nkomo with the bodyguard of Muzenda. So that is what Muzenda Ezekiel was. He was the bodyguard of Muzenda and the bodyguard of Tongogara. Those two are not the same hero. So someone in the national hero, if you now keep putting a lot of people, now it doesn't make sense when you're walking the national hero, you don't know who is the top hero and who is the bottom hero. So there should be statuses to say Mugabe, Nkomo, and so forth, that at this level. And then the bodyguards and the other guys, they're also at their level. They go to the Provincial Heroes Acre. And Mnangagwa can even go and officiate at the Provincial Heroes Acre if people want the president to officiate. And they can also give them more benefits. So the Provincial Heroes must also get more benefits. Then we don't have to have all these national heroes at Heroes Acre. Some of them who are not, their credentials don't deserve them to be at there. When you listened at the announcement or the description by Mnangagwa, you can clearly see that the heroship or the things that the person is said to have done, it does not deserve them to be at a National Heroes Acre. I don't know if there's something else he did afterwards, which I don't know. But the fact that you're a bodyguard of someone and went to training in Yugoslavia does not make you a national hero. A national hero is someone who started the war, led the war, strategically negotiated, led the resistance, those kind of things. That's what is a national hero. But when you talk of someone who was a bodyguard or someone who crossed the border or someone who went to training or someone who was in security, those are lower level heroes. You can make them a hero in their province, or you can even put a local hero status. So in a village, you can have a Heroes Acre where people who fought in the war can be put in the Heroes Acre, and then you upgrade the other lower heroes. So I think ZANU-PF needs to look at that. But Mnangagwa is doing odd stuff anyway. So I don't know if he's going to do it. And I don't think he will ever do it. He's going to continue. And then until you have 100 burials a month at the Heroes Acre, then he's going to stop. Then let's go now to comments. Nkoma Mneti saying, good morning, Gambakwe. This succession issue end up in a blood flow. The general is no pushover. So I want to explain to you something. And this is how you become a leader. If you want to be a leader, you must be willing to lose. So did you hear what I just said now? If you want to be a leader, you must be willing to lose. So you must be willing to lose your position. You must be willing to take a position. So that is what is going to define General Chiwenga. Is he willing to lose his current position? Because that is where he needs to go. General Chiwenga needs to lose his current position if he's going to be president. He cannot continue under Mnangagwa under these circumstances. And he needs to take a position on important issues. So important issues like dialogue, like rigging, we must see the difference between Mnangagwa and Chiwenga. So they can't be the same. People want a new leader who is different. And so I know that General Chiwenga is not a pushover. I know that General Chiwenga has got massive support in the military. And I know that General Chiwenga has got massive support in the region. So I've talked to quite a number of people who have explained to me that the region respects General Chiwenga a lot. But he has to be willing to lose his current position, and he has to be willing to take a position on important issues like dialogue. He cannot just toe the line, because if he's not careful, as I said, a plan will be made for him and you won't see office. That is, look at all the other countries, Kenya, South Africa. Look at what has happened in Botswana. The vice president position is very tricky on the last term of the current president. And after the president is gone, the vice president will usually attack the past president. Do you get what I just say here? After the president is gone, the vice president will normally attack the previous president. So if you look in Botswana, Masisi is chasing after Khama. If you look in South Africa, Jacob Zuma had a lot of problems when he was vice president. And I think Jacob Zuma is quite a different guy. But the dynamics, you understand the dynamics of what I'm saying. In Zimbabwe, the president, Mnangagwa, current president now, and Mugabe had a lot of problems with the family of Mugabe not wanting him to assume office. So the succession issue and dynamics between the vice president and the president do not work, because our leaders, the current group of leaders, do not understand succession. So you never see proper succession taking place. And in the case of Chiwenga, it's even worse, because Chiwenga is going to be replacing a dynasty or a wannabe dynasty. And what a dynasty does is it will eliminate anyone who tries to stop or stand in the way of a dynasty. So that means if you are dealing with a dynasty, you have to be more ruthless and you have to do things that would normally not be done. So you have to move first. And if you don't move first, then you're going to be taken out, because you're surrounded by enemies. You're like a little sheep surrounded by lions. That is what happens. So you might think that you're a brave sheep, but if you're surrounded by lions, they will tear you apart. I've given you this scenario before, that some of the people that you think are your friends will actually be your enemies. And suddenly you find yourself at the receiving end of things that happened. For example, what happened yesterday, a public humiliation or an attempt to publicly humiliate you. Then Mkoma Fungaldo here says, Gambakwe, don't lie for us, please. Yes, Mkoma Fungaldo, as I said to you, it's not about me. You are going to see everything in public. You're going to see this thing that I'm talking to you now. So this is, you are still in May now. As time goes on, you're going to see these things that I'm telling you on ZBC. Succession cannot be done in private. Succession is done in public. I have literally, just before the 2018 elections, I walked around with Ma'am Juru when she was here, and she had just been removed from office. These guys look powerful when they're still in office, but they actually are not strong. If you move closer to my president, my vice president, you realize that they are strong because of the structures around them. The moment you take away bodyguards from Mohad, that is how it is. These guys are not strong without the structures. So what you need to do if you're still in a position is to use the structure that you've got to make sure that you're not removed. And you have to be able to do things that you won't regret. So if you delay, if you move slowly, you're going to regret it. Because once the structures are removed, you are exposed and you're not able to do much, and you can easily be dealt with. The position of a vice president especially is very vulnerable. It's not a strong position, because you do not have access to some things, which means you have to work with external structures. And those external structures can easily be eliminated. So people can sit and they look from above and say, who is here? Who is here? Who is defending this guy? And they pick you up. They pick them up. What I call kubatwa seishwa. When I say my general, that's what I mean. People will look from above and say, who is who around this guy? And they'll pick him up one by one. And at the end of the day, you look around you and with no protection. That is what happens. And I'm sure that we'll be talking about this as time goes on. And then Mkoma Eno says, I strongly believe General Chiwenga has a good heart, evidenced by General Zunavashi's remarks on how the military was trained and built during the War of Liberation. So I don't know much about Chiwenga myself. I have never spent time analyzing Chiwenga. And he's saying that seeing the abuse of military power by Mnangagwa through his kids, all trouble as a result of his family, and General Chiwenga is in deep trouble. I don't even comment about the death of people, but I've told you myself, I don't speak about the past. So you must understand how I do things. I tell you, or I talk about what I see is going to happen. So most of the time, if something has already happened, everyone's talking about it, you won't see me talking about it. I tell you things before they happen because I can see around the corner. Right, so I think we've said enough, and Mkoma Tafi says all the news about Mnangagwa and Zanu. What is going on? What is going on is that the third force has managed to decimate the opposition. Chamisa has been removed from the equation. So right now, Chamisa, they've taken him and put him on the side. He's no longer a player for now. And the game is going to be played in ZANU PF. First, they'll try to eliminate Chiwenga. Then they will try to eliminate Mnangagwa. And then you have a transitional period and then a new government. So everything that I'm saying here, by 2038 or 2040, that is where you're probably going to see a new opposition-led government in Zimbabwe. Unless Chamisa makes the right moves. And the right moves is SADC is the last chance. When SADC comes now, this is the last chance for Chamisa to take his position and to become a possible president of Zimbabwe. So what we're seeing right now is the end game in ZANU PF. So when I talk about the end game, I'm talking about a situation that when it's over, ZANU PF will have a new leader, and that new leader is probably going to lead the country for the next until 2038. Somewhere around 2038, you're going to see ZANU PF still in office, unless Chamisa makes a move at SADC. So the last chance for Chamisa is at SADC, at the SADC summit. That is the last chance for the opposition in Zimbabwe to remove Mnangagwa. If they fail to remove Mnangagwa at SADC, the SADC summit is what we call a black swan event, something that will never happen again, where Mnangagwa's hands will be tied. So for 2 weeks, or for that month of August, Mnangagwa cannot do anything in Zimbabwe. He cannot kill people when they demonstrate. He cannot stop people. And in August, if Mnangagwa is still in office, and that is the chance for Chamisa to cause mass action that will remove Mnangagwa. So if you see August passing and Chamisa hasn't done anything, your next president is going to come from ZANU PF. And that will be the case until 2038, 2040, somewhere there. That is when you're going to have a new government. And the young guys like this, this is what Mnangagwa is trying to do. He's trying to push Kuda Mnangagwa currently into the position of president. And if that is not possible, you're going to see another structure. For example, what the dialogue with Sengizo Chabangu, that is not something that was thought of in a day. So the coming up of Sengizo Chabangu was a long-term and upcoming strategy that was put in place way back. Because when Mnangagwa does his plans, he does it in a long way. So he doesn't make a strategy now. And that is why I'm saying General Chiwenga has to make a plan. Because whoever moves first between Mnangagwa and General Chiwenga is going to come out on top. And Chiwenga is next in line. So don't forget what I'm saying here. Chiwenga is next in line to become president. But it can easily fail. He can easily fail to take over the position of Zimbabwe. Hence the heckling that we saw yesterday. They want him to react, and react out of emotion, not to react the way that he's supposed to react. Because when you react, you need to have a step-by-step plan to say, I want to do this, I want to do this. Then when this happens, I do this. But when you react emotionally, you won't know what to do. You run and you make mistakes. And that is where they want them to, what they want to do. Right, so I think I'm done here. And Mkomanyi Kadzino, Gambakwe has been in this market for, when I started this, 2010, when I came from the United States. That is when I started my channel. And it's very rare for me to be wrong about the succession matrix. If I could not be wrong about Chamisa, who I love so much, Kuti, they are going to remove Chamisa. What do you think about General Chiwenga when you see them heckling him in public? Think about it very, very carefully. If you are seeing a vice president being heckled, and if you're seeing fighting in parliament, these are things that I've told you in the past. You're going to see public fighting, and it's going to be very crazy. So I want to thank you. And Mtungama, I saw you saying Eddie Cross mentioned that Mnangagwa was not, Chiwenga may not be next in line. I think we've dealt with that issue before. What I've said here stands. General Chiwenga, he is next in line. He is the most senior person in ZANU-PF. He is probably the one person that can change the fortunes of our country, because Mnangagwa is not capable of doing it, and everything is collapsing. Especially the ZIG, it's collapsing because it's a fake currency, and we need a new person that can unite a nation, that can bring dialogue, because dialogue is the solution for everything that we need to do here. And currently, the opposition has been decimated. So you need someone new with a different agenda, not a dynasty agenda like Mnangagwa. Mnangagwa has got a dynasty agenda. Right, thank you very much, everyone, for watching, and I'll be back here tomorrow. I hope that nothing dramatic happens today, but if something does happen, which is dramatic, I'll see you tonight. Thank you very much, and a good day to you all.